Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh. Wow, that is beautiful. Oh, there's probably another one, right?
It's 26. Just went into the next one, I guess.
Okay, we'll hear that too because since I'm working here. One of my favorite songs. God, beautiful.
Thank
Wow. My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, and no, we are not related or that we know of.
you. That's funny.
Misha Segal.
Yeah. That is funny.
It is funny. Um, that was really beautiful, Misha. That
Thank you. That's the
when
it's
I
the it's the product of 2 years of isolation, or almost isolation, and I had time to devote myself to something that I just never have time to do, and it was very gratifying.
standards, specifically standards,
And
or
specifically playing the piano, in the what I uploaded was mostly standards, but just because I'm in composing and producing, but mostly composing, and I never dedicated time, and I always shied away from playing in front of public if I'm not well rehearsed and if I'm not you know, and I've done a few jam sessions, as you know, and
Yeah.
I never felt very comfortable because I don't do professionally. I don't do it all the time, and there's a very big difference between someone plays,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so you know, I had time to focus a little bit on, you know, practicing and creating on the piano. So that's how these things came about.
It's yeah, and you probably remember like, oh yeah, I really like playing the piano.
You it's true. It's so true. You know, you don't even think about it, and I suddenly, you know, realized I have a relationship with the piano. You know, and I put a few albums out and everything, and it was in a way it was great because I had no choice but to spend some time. I can't compose 24 hours a day. You know, I need breaks.
Yeah.
So rather than going out for coffee or everything, I would go to the piano and I would kind of study a tune and then reharmonize, do some things like that. And that's a whole playlist.
Well, I really seriously mean this. I would love to get together and sing through some standards with you doing it like that. That is my idea of singing with a piano player. You know, I don't like the standard kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, you're talking about the
Yeah.
Tony Bennett, Bill Evans
Yeah. Yeah.
experience. It's one of the greatest albums that were ever made, and there are quite a few albums made. It's
Ever.
just that, you know, you don't get to hear Bill Evans as an accompanist very much.
Yeah.
And, you know, his genius was such that he could switch hats and do them 1000% again. And that combination was killing. It was amazing. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I would love to do that, Cathy. I would love to do that. You know, when we did things together, the few times that we did, there was no rehearsal, no preparation, and we just, you know, played the chords. And I, you know, just from my, I don't know if I should rap like this, but you know,
Absolutely. Go what we can we're open for anything.
I did, you know, I did one of my albums. Chick Corea played a solo,
Uh-huh.
and you know, when you're in the presence of a genius, uh, you can't help but listen to everything because out of 10 things he will say, probably 9 things are worth putting in your notebook, you know. And it's kind of like you become brilliant by being around brilliant people. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I noticed very interesting. Whenever I would go to a concert, if it's classical, you know, Danil Trifonov or Martha Argerich, or if it's jazz, it's Keith Jarrett or Chick Corea. I would come back home, sit at the piano, and without doing anything before, my playing was better. Just because I spent 2.5 hours with Keith Jarrett, something happens to my hands, and that's the. So we're doing the album. It's called Zambuca, and the name of the tune was Zambuca, and he played the phenomenal solo, and you know it was very funny. He turns to me and says, "What do you think?" And I'm thinking, what do I think? I'm thinking orange juice and falafel. What am I thinking? He said, "Well, let me do another one." So you have two, you know. So he does another one, and he gets to a certain point. We'd have to turn the heating down. It's
I
sorry,
understand.
sorry
I
about
get my
yeah,
my my little
sorry about that.
no,
So
that's okay.
so he got to a certain point, and he says, you know, hold the tape, you know. So and and he actually practiced a phrase.
Oh,
He had a phrase in his head,
yeah.
and it was not as easily accessible. And the beauty about, you know, I mean, Bill Evans talks about it a lot, you know, about don't just play where your fingers are going, you know,
Yeah.
play fewer notes, play one note a bar, but mean it, you know, and you know, and my God, what a lesson! Just that, you know, don't play what you don't hear. And I have a whole thing about it, which we may talk about later or not, you know, which uh, uh, the basis of it was something that Gary Burton said a long time ago when I was going to Berkeley. But anyway, so it was very interesting. It's about improvisation. It was
Yeah.
very interesting that he got it. It was a very, you know, it was a very original, of course. I mean, a chick doesn't just play
Yeah.
notes because he has technique. Every solo can be studied the whole semester. So he does this thing, and it's beautiful. It's just amazing. And I said, "Wow, that is really out there." And he said, and he smiled, and he said, "Well," he said, "that'll give the Berkeley students something to practice." He knew that everything new, oh, what is that? Let me practice it. In every key. And what I got out of that, it was many things, but is that you really, when you improvise, you have to be thoughtful. You don't just, there's certain licks that we all know, and that we are very used to, and so we just play them, because the hand wants to go there. It's very comfortable. And the greatest test of it is, oh, that's great. Now do it in F sharp major. Same thing. Oh, the hand doesn't go there. So going back to our thing, that if it's thought through, that doesn't mean that everything has to be stiff and written by notes. But if the concepts are there, you can get a nice little jewel out of it. But if you just say, hey, let's play Stella, okay, okay, it'll sound okay, but there'll be nothing special about it. Anyway, I don't know how we got into that, but we did.
Well,
Very
it's
well.
funny that you're talking about that because I just took a piano class. I'm studying piano, which is humbling. But I can play piano, but how I play is a little more accompaniment piano, chords in my right hand, and I don't even walk bass in my left hand, and now I am comping and chords in my left hand and
Mhm.
adding the adding the melody of my right hand. Eesh, God, but we're talking about improvisation, and I've noticed he has us doing something very simple, just a drone, like a one and a five in the left
Mhm.
hand,
Mhm.
and then just improvise. So that's pretty cool to start off with. But I noticed that I could just kind of, as you say, just whatever.
Meander, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't come out great, you know.
No, it's very interesting. It's basically the spirit of the music is when it really, goes through the whole process. Now it may be very quick, but there's something very satisfying. It's like, when you drink a, beautiful, wonderful hot chocolate, it's not just what happens here, it's there's a whole
Experience.
process,
Yeah.
and all of it is so exciting. If it doesn't go through the process, if it goes straight to the, then, I mean, you could do Oscar Peterson type licks forever. They sound great. I mean, for him, it's indigenous, so this is his
Yeah.
property. I mean, he created that
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
But you hear a lot of people do that, but then there's no meaning to it. The greatness of, and I'm preaching to the choir, but the greatness of Coltrane and all these people is that there is meaning to
Yeah.
to every note, no matter how fast it is. Now, how can they play so fast? It's a whole other story. That's not just technique. That's an
Yeah.
ear.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Gary Burton and all of that. Perfect pitch. There's a lot of things that.
Yeah.
But
There's so many things that are popping up into my mind, that you're stimulating. But one particular thing is, and I always forget her name. She's a classical singer. She's probably, I don't know, maybe in her 40s or 50s, 50s. I can't, I really don't know. She,
American,
um, yeah, I'm not sure if she's Italian. She might be
Joyce
a,
DiDonato.
no.
No.
Anyway, about
Anyway.
15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, she seemed very popular. And she has the most amazing voice, and she sings fast lines incredibly accurately, but with heart, but like right on the money,
Yes,
da, da, da,
yes,
da,
yes.
da, da, and I've often marveled at that and thought, it's not just a machine. It's something else that she's doing.
There's
She's,
intention. There's intention,
yeah, it's
and
so true.
otherwise it's noise.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
noise. It's like the elevator thing. It's somewhere there.
yeah.
But these guys are and girls. It's it's amazing, and if you are a professional, I mean, the thing with about art and music and so forth is that you cannot hang a sign dentist if you don't have the papers. You can't. No matter how much you've seen people do it, you have to. In art, there's a certain
It's
free
like,
license,
yeah,
and so it starts getting blurred, from where does the amateur end and the professional begin. And there are many layers to that, but to me, uh, there's a layer that is the way the industries are and the way that things are being distributed and so forth. There's a layer that's completely ignored and not even taken into consideration because it's a layer that doesn't immediately show profit. And so, whether if the artist has an intention or has no intention, if it sounds good and it functions within, especially in movies, it's very clear. And because I'm doing, I've been doing this for a long time, and where you can just put your hands on the keyboard and there's a sound that comes out of one of the modules, Omnisphere or Zebra or Contact, and good enough, works. So so that the layer where is it really intended or is it just something that one does for making a living or for making impressing somebody else or whatever it is.
and there's a I mean, you are a successful movie composer. You've done a lot, but there has to be more, like, as what you're talking about. It has to be an inner intended. Uh, the intention of it makes you feel successful and satisfied,
Yeah, the
right?
fact that
Uh,
when I write something and it could be a huge movie, like I did 3 years ago. I did a very big movie in China, and it was big, orchestras and budgets and blah blah blah.
yeah,
Or a small movie like the one I'm doing one now from England, is based on a 12th century well-known story. It's not a, it's a small budget, but the intention is the same. So my intention as a creator does not change.
yeah,
If I don't like the project, I just won't do it. Or if it doesn't, pay at all, or whatever it is,
yeah,
I'm not going to get involved. But once I'm in. As the old man says, you're in for the duration. You're either in or you're not in.
yeah.
And with improvisation, it's tricky. When are you really in and when are you not in? And I had I'm not going to mention names, but I had a guy that I kind of coached for a long time, from the time he was a child until he grew up, and he came to me a lot for advice after he started, studying and everything. And one time he said that it was his first time playing in front of public, and everybody was clapping, and he was so happy. And I said, was the clapping really important to you? Because you mentioned it was so much excitement. Well, no, but it's gratifying. I said, it will be gratifying if Chick Corea sits in the first row, and because then it has a meaning because this is who you play for. You don't, the public enjoys what you're doing, but it's the peers that will be able to give you the correct validation. And so that was one thing. And then there was another time when he came to me announcing that he wants to be a film composer, and I said, you're a phenomenal pianist and a great accompanist. Don't do it just because it's fashionable. Do what's in your heart, and you will be very successful at it. When he became very, very successful, and it's really, for me, it was all about where is your heart, and yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I'm curious when. Well, obviously, you played piano from when you were young. Is that correct?
No, I started at 21.
Come on, really?
Yeah, I started after the army service. The why I never got to the piano is a whole other thing, background, family, and
Yeah.
conditions. I wanted to play piano since I was 3 years old. I mean, I always wanted the piano. That's where this are we going to see some uncles? Do they have a piano? It didn't happen, and so when I started studying, I realized very quickly that I could not be the best. And not because I was competing with anybody, but because I wanted to have a complete expression, palette open, and if there's some things that is missing. So I started studying composition, and because that was an area that I knew I could get very far, but piano playing takes a lot of, like you say, started young. Those who started at 5, 6, 7, 8 that we know of, had that
Yeah.
10 years uninterrupted time where they don't have to deal with IRS and things like that.
Right. But you started actually in composition young, so that's interesting.
22.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And then, and was it your desire to compose for movies, or was it a broader composition desire?
No, not at all. I knew that I wanted to write music, and I didn't have anything specific in mind. And I was a little bit directed by what came at me. This is a long diatribe. I'm not going to get into it, but I started actually, when I started working commercially, I started as a songwriter.
Oh,
I had, in Israel, and I have many major hits in Israel. And
is this in the pop field or?
yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so I had a lot of success in that, and hand in hand, I started getting calls from theaters to write music for theater. And it kind of spread out, and I started doing everything. And I was so thirsty for music. I anything that came to me, and a lot came to me from different directions. And the movies were actually the last thing I did in Israel before I left. And when I left Israel, I went to Berkeley College of Music. I was interested in really getting educated, especially in jazz, because that was what I grew up on. I was born in Israel to a father who was a jazz fanatic, and he was the only one. There was nobody else knew Woody Herman, Artie Shaw, Louis Armstrong, Benny Goodman. I mean, all the, and Annie Get Your Gun, and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I grew up on totally different kind of music than kids in Israel. So when I started writing, my first song was a bossa nova. It was a huge hit.
Oh,
And no one has ever heard anything in Hebrew with that kind of rhythm and thing.
wow.
It was very difficult because the musicians did not know
Yeah.
kind of music very well, so it was a little bit stiff, and I felt frustrated. That was one of the major reasons why I decided to leave. Today, Israel is exploding with genius musicians. I mean, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable what comes out
Yeah.
of there, and they come here in success. But at that time, there was, you know, two and a half pianists and a quarter bass player and, and a drummer with a hi-hat. I mean, there was really not much.
Huh.
So, so I came to Berkeley, and when I graduated from Berkeley, I went to New York, and the I thought I would get involved somehow with jazz, and very quickly, the first week in New York, I met with the Tio Macero, who was my business producer, and I wouldn't leave his office until he heard a tape that I just made at Berkeley, and he signed me to a management contract, and I started after 1 week in New York. I started working with Andre Kostelanetz. I met Buddy Rich and worked with him, and met Maynard Ferguson and worked with him, and Bob James, Dave Bruce, and and that led to a friend of mine who was a VP of marketing for RCA Records. He says, do you do songs? And I worked mostly as an arranger for these folks. I said, yeah, Bob, actually, Bob James took one of my songs and recorded it with Wilbert Longmire, who was a singer in New York. And I said, sure, So, and then I was introduced to Luther Vandross and recorded his first commercial release and produced.
Oh.
And so that led into a whole other slew of working with artists. So your question about movies, that really came, started when I came to Los Angeles, when I moved to Los Angeles. And I moved to Los Angeles, this whole other story, and that was the thing to do in LA. And so I started doing that. But while I was here, I met with Berry Gordy and signed the contract with him and was with him for 3 months writing songs and doing his movie, The Last Dragon. Which is
wow.
So my career has been all over the place. So the idea of what I was thinking of doing.
Well, I think you said it. You said I was hungry for music.
So anything
Such
that came my way,
outstanding sentence, yeah.
that I could really feel honest about. But I did flub a few of those. I was not honest about a few of those, and I paid the price. So this is what I always tell people. You can get away with it for a while, but it will come back to bite your butt, because if it's not who you are, at some point, it's going to kick you.
Yeah.
Another story, of course.
Yeah, that's great. I do have a question here from my friend Roland Askerons. He would like to know how you approach creating a movie score. Do you watch the whole movie to get a feel of the story, or do you watch short portions and create the score as a series of individual compositions? And in particular, would you care to talk about how you composed the score to Un Secreto de Esperanza?
Wow, that's an obscure one. Is he a musician? Is he a composer?
Yes, he's a guitar player. He doesn't really play so much anymore, but he has like 13 guitars at home. He's definitely a guitar player.
So as far as the process, it's really a technical issue, and it really depends on who I work with, because there's for example, some directors want me to come in way before the movies wants me to read the script and everything, and get involved early on, and sometimes even maybe write a few things that come to me so that they can take it to the set with them and so on, all the way to they finish the movie, everything is done, and they're hiring a composer, and so it really depends on how they like to work, and some of them get very involved with me, all the way to micromanaging, and I we don't like this, all of us, because you hire us to do what you think we know how to do, but they will come here and sit with me and go over where the music should go and where it should start, where it should end, and so on and so forth, and all the way to someone like when I did Pippi Longstocking, the director Ken Anakin was not involved. He just said, do what you want. And I went to Budapest and recorded a 80-piece orchestra, and then went to England to mix the score, and then came to LA and recorded a whole bunch of songs. And he never heard anything until I mean, we didn't have computers at the time. And, the first time he saw it was in the, MGM's stage,
Wow.
and that was so. It really varies. So, but if he wants to know technically how I do things, we can have a conversation, but not here. And I can run him through the process. I look at the thing, I get an idea. I immediately, when I see the beginning of the movie, and I write it down, and then depending on how many themes are needed, I will develop them and so on. As far as Secreto de Esperanza, it was a movie that starred Cathy, who was one of the most known female actresses from Mexico, who actually, I think she was the first one to be nominated or won an Academy Award in the United States. And she played, with Clint Eastwood, and I think who was it? Brando. I mean, she was the girl of the 50s, and it was her last movie.
Oh,
And,
wow.
it was a beautiful movie about her and a little kid, and the relationship between them. And they hired a Mexican composer, I don't know who it was, to do the score. And the guy finished the score. They didn't like it.
Huh.
And one of the producers knew me and said, "How would you feel about working on a Mexican movie?" And I said, "I would feel very good about it." Because it's challenging. Like, China, I had to go into that frame beingness, and study, 8th century Chinese music. It was really an amazing adventure. So, I listened to a lot of Mexican music and distilled it into my style and everything, and that's how it came about. And Ramon Stagnaro, the fabulous guitar player, he just passed away last week, and he played almost every project I ever did that needed a guitar.
Oh,
He was the lead voice in that Peruvian, unbelievable guy, unbelievable musician. Anyway,
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to continue on. Yeah, Roland is just saying that he, for some reason, he had the score in his phone.
he
I don't
was.
know. He had the score in his phone. I guess
Oh,
I'm not sure
really?
why, but Roland, you'll have to expound on that. But anyway, interesting. So I wanted to ask you, well, can we? I know there's so much that I can't play because they will take me down because you have all these movies that you've scored.
Yeah.
So I can't really do that, but I can, of course, do all your solo things
But why can't you play? Why can't you play my music?
because
Because of the movie?
it's proprietorial, and like if it was through Sony for some reason, the licensing. I don't know why Facebook should just collect the licensing fee
I
from
mean,
me.
YouTube.
Yeah, or well, both. Facebook will take me down. And it's just a licensing thing. I just don't know why somebody doesn't handle it correctly, but they don't. They won't. They don't. I don't think they ever will because
I know there's a guy, Rick Beato, online. He does a lot of interviews, and he complains about it all the time. He can't play 2 bars of any
I know.
songs. Well,
But anyway, but there is this. But oh, look at you're playing to Nina Horta.
yeah, that's oh yeah, that one, yeah.
I'd like to hear that. Do you mind?
Sure. And it's all for yeah.
There's so many here that I want to listen to, but I am going to just let this one go because this is probably one of my most gorgeous songs. Beautiful. Wow. That's beautiful. Sorry. Have to stop it so it can.
Yeah, it just keeps going. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, on and on and on. Also, oh, there's the island too.
Mm.
A lot of, I did a lot of them. Also, I have here, these are not always 100% accurate, but this is from All Music, and these are some of your credits. Um, gosh, lots of, um,
Oh, it's just a random list.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who starts these lists. Sometimes it's some other Misha Segal who's a photographer, but like
Mm.
here's your Un Secreto, Phantom of the Opera, and Carl Anderson.
That's wild. There's no connection between any of these. It's a totally random list. I mean, this is one tiny bit of everything. So, but
Right.
it's a bit overwhelming. I sometimes don't understand this, but there it is. What is this?
Yeah.
The Essentials of Syreeta? What the hell is that?
Where's this?
Uh, 2001, The Essentials of Syreeta?
See, now that's what I mean. Sometimes it's a
Oh,
wrong. It
she
did you
she recorded Ferris wheel with Carl Anderson and with Smokey Robinson.
okay.
So this may appear on her album, and her album is called Essentials of Syreeta.
See, it says that you
Yeah,
might be the producer and composer.
I produced and composed, yes, and
Oh,
arranged.
okay. All right. Yeah, so
Interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
it is interesting, isn't it?
There, there's Luther Vandross.
right up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so musical, wasn't he? Gosh.
Oh, he was the ultimate R&B, the ultimate R&B singer. I mean, there was no one like him. There's where you go where he would do his ha ha, that thing, and it
Yeah.
would be totally meaningful. That's
Yeah.
what made him so great. After him, there's many Mariah Carey. I mean, she's great, but there's a lot of these noodling.
Yeah.
It was just kind of to do it, but not to feel it. And today, you have many singers today who just do it. When Luther did that, you got shivers because it was so true. There's a
Yeah. He and Donny Hathaway too. Donny
Donny
Hathaway was
Hathaway, my
like,
God, yeah.
he was kind of the, he was kind I always thought, now I'd have to really research this, but I thought he was kind of the beginning of that. But oh God, when he did
It,
it.
it could be that he started it, but Luther sort of brought it home.
Oh yeah, because Luther was the thing about Luther that struck me was the songs that he picked to sing
Yes,
were so musical. They were
yes.
not just like, four chords. They were
Oh, a
really,
house is not a home, that
yeah.
one. And he does that live, and Dionne Warwick is sitting there crying. So that's what I mean. He's a singer. These are the guys. If
Yeah.
they give you the nod, yes, yes, you've arrived.
That's
No,
so
that's the thing. I mean, look at Art Tatum.
yeah.
Everybody that came to listen to him became a little kid. Even Oscar Peterson said, when I heard him, I thought maybe I shouldn't play. When I listened to Chick for the first time, I stopped playing actually. I did. And you know what's interesting? It's a funny little story because for a couple of years I just couldn't. Said he played all the necessary notes. There's no more notes to play. I heard him at the Village Vanguard. And then I met him,
Yeah.
and we used to hang out at his home in Los Feliz.
Yeah.
And one evening we sat down. I felt much more comfortable with him, and I told him the story. I said, Chick, I have to tell you a story. I heard you at the Village Vanguard a few years ago, and I decided not to play anymore. And he became very stern. The Chick stern. I mean,
Yeah.
and he said, play something. And I said, no, I'm not playing in front of you. He said, play something, and talk about intention. It was very light, but there was no way around it. So I went to the piano and I played, oh, my thing is not turned on here. And I played Turn Onto the Stars, Bill Evans, which
Yeah.
my hands were shaking like this. And I didn't know that this was one of the first disc claviers. It was a Yamaha that could
Oh,
record. I hope they don't take it down because I said Yamaha.
really?
Yeah, and he surreptitiously clicked the button. I didn't know, and I played the whole thing. And I went back and I kind of sat quietly, and he went back to the piano and clicked the thing and played everything I just played back. And I was in shock. Actually, he mentions it in a letter to me many years later, which I actually posted. It was so beautiful
Oh,
on Facebook, where he says, I heard that thing again that you did that time. It still sounds good. So when
wow.
I was starting to sweat. I mean, hearing this whole thing. And he looked at me and he said, "That's damn good. Now you play." And I started playing again. So it was because of Chick that I
Wow.
stopped, and it was because of Chick that I started again.
That's
Oh,
really
Chick,
something.
Chick, Chick, Chick. What?
Yeah, Chick, he was so influential. Even on me as a singer, he was just because his musicianship was broad,
It was
it
broad, and it was
embraced everybody.
he's on the fold of an era. I mean, Chick created an era.
Yeah.
Of course, Coltrane, did what he did, and Chick is a student of Coltrane. But again, like we talked about Hathaway and Luther, Chick put the whole package together of this new era
Yeah.
playing new language,
Yeah.
pentatonic, chromatic, and all of that stuff, which Coltrane did, morning, lunch, and evening.
Yeah.
But Chick brought it to a huge public, made it more accessible than just musicians. So he
When
influenced everybody. He influenced composers and film, and and Daniil Trifonov, the new Horowitz plays one of Chick's pieces. I mean, he's the most influential, one of the most influential musicians ever.
yeah. When I interviewed Flora Purim, I hadn't really, I mean, I was at Berkeley, 72 to 75, and it was there that I discovered my taste in music, which included Weather Report and
Of
Bob
course.
Moses and Miles. And, my dad was a musician, so I came from Stan Kenton and Rosemary Clooney.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but I hadn't. I don't know why. I just didn't really think about it before I interviewed Flora that she actually was like that for singers, and of course she was with Chick at that time. So
Light
it
as a
was
feather.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she was the beginning of modern jazz singing.
But even
So
she went to Chick
yeah.
and through that
Oh
the
yeah.
whole thing opened. So so
Yeah.
again, those goes back to Chick. Oh yeah, she kind of started this modern approach.
Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah. Really beautiful stuff. Let's see. Da, 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 dum, ba, ba. My friend posted a Luther Vandross, Georgie Porgy,
That's
produced
the
by you.
one. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, well, you guys can look at it afterwards. I'm sure that would get me taken down. It's probably official. Um, yeah. Oh,
That's
and
terrible that you can't just share things.
I
I mean,
know it's just kind of
it's not
silly,
it's
isn't
not
it?
like you're selling it or anything. It's
I
just
know. I know. It's
insane.
just,
It's insane.
it's
By
silly.
the way, you were in Berkeley 72 to 75.
Yeah.
I was in Berkeley 74 to 76.
Oh,
Hello.
hi.
Herb Pomeroy was there,
Yep.
and Gary Burton was there, and,
Gary
and, and Pat
Burton.
Metheny was there, and many
Mick
more. And
Goodrick. Well, actually, Pat was not, when I was there, Pat was not a student or a teacher there. It was Mick Goodrick was kind of the
Mick
guy who
Goodrick.
was, yeah. And who was the guy that they named the half note after? He was like one of the lead administrator guys. He was a sax player.
Oh,
Laporta, John Laporta.
it was John Laporta.
Yeah. See, they didn't have voice when I was there. I was playing flute and arranging and composition.
Mhm.
And the year I left, they got a voice department. I mean, I was still singing, but Anyway, but yeah,
Those are good days in Boston.
great days.
Great
Just
days.
great, man. The music was so
Oh, everything was free. It
exciting.
was free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Claudio Roditi, do you remember him?
absolutely. Yeah.
He was there. He was with the recording band, and yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing time. Do you have when you I'm just curious, this is I don't know, maybe too personal question, but when you hear other arrangers, specifically arrangers, do you have, I mean, besides what you said already, which was to be truthful, do you have pet peeves, that some arrangers might do that you go, geez, I wish they didn't do that?
Well, that goes for any music. I mean, it can be, it can be a film score. It can be, it can be a production. Um, I, 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 I don't think about that very much because you know, it's a very interesting thing. As a professional, I'm always studying. I'm always studying. I'm studying now. I mean, I'm studying. I'm taking piano lessons, and I'm studying. I'm studying scores all the time. Um, so if something uh, is not to my sensibility, I will try to analyze what was it exactly. Why did it? Oh, the range of the horns is exactly the same range
Mm.
as the singer. So you can't, even if you play pianissimo, it's going to interfere, you know. So the idea of letting, by the way, you mentioned arranger, which is very funny because that was my first thrust in my career, because I was not even thinking about, you know, writing anything of songs. It was just, it fell on me. But my whole work in New York in the beginning was just arranging. You know, I did orchestrations and arranging for tours. You know, Conquistador was uh, an album that I reorchestrated for Maynard Ferguson's live band for the road.
Wow.
And you know,
Cool.
GRP All Star for Dave Grusin. I did, you know, I did from the record. I did, you know, not a transcription, but a rearranging. So, you know, I learned a little about that from many different sources. You know, Johnny Mandel was a huge influence on me. Of course, Quincy in every aspect,
Mm.
producing and arranging and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, and there's this guy from Argentina. What was his name? Klaus Ogerman. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there were certain people like that. The Elton John's guy was phenomenal. He was a cello player, and he used actually the strings for the first time in a way that was really functional. It was not just, you know, hanging some notes
Yeah.
behind it, but really functional to the thing. His name was Buckmaster, Paul Buckmaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of influence in arranging, and so these guys were perfect arrangers in their style, perfect. So, you know, and then you have, of course, Thad Jones, Mel Lewis. You know, you have this whole other beautiful Gil Evans. You know, I mean, it never ends when you start
Yeah.
talking about arranging.
Yeah.
So, because of the level of music that I listen to, it's hardly ever an issue. And if it's a real pet peeve, it must be some student who doesn't know yet and all of that. But the really, you know, Michel Legrand, the great arrangers who are also great composers and everything,
Yeah.
they have they're as good in arranging as you know you know
Yeah.
others are in composing. You know.
Yeah. It's interesting. Johnny Mandel.
Yeah,
It's
he was my
interesting.
main influence.
It's like people we create out of the same place if we're doing the right job,
That's right.
for ourselves.
That's
And
right.
we create this and then we stay. And the challenge for any artist, I think, is to get there and also stay there through
Mm,
through the piece.
yeah.
Yeah, I always,
It means constantly evolving.
yeah,
One thing again, it comes from something that I think we both studied, is that things don't stay flat. You
that's
know,
right. Yeah,
they either go up or they go down, and flat it'll go down. And it's something that innately, you know, you have you know, it's an artist like Miles Davis who just never stopped. And if it got to a point where the genre was so out of his main thinking, he would you know, he would infuse himself
yeah,
into that organically.
yeah,
You know, you never feel with Miles that, oh, he got a bunch of people who do hip hop now, and
yeah,
or you know, and created a sound. There are people like that, but Miles ain't one of them. And
yeah.
so the idea of always, you know, always searching, the curiosity, the interest, is what keeps them up there and keeps them continuing to ascend. It's not
I
just singing.
love
Mhm.
that. I just love that. It's just it's such a turn on. It's how can you even have a bad day when you think like that? It's
Yeah,
impossible,
yeah, it's got to be a very special day to yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's
I've also been reading Kenny Werner's second book,
oh
and it's
yeah,
good. It's really
yeah.
good. It's coming from the first book, but it's expansive, and yeah, it's great. It's great to be reminded of this kind of stuff that you're saying as well.
These people with that kind of accomplishment and with that kind of skill and the knowledge, you know, like I said, you know, there are certain books there's a few again that we know very well, where you open the book and put
Yes.
your finger anywhere you want. You can make a whole movie from that one sentence, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and this the idea is that, you know, I always thought, you know, we always go back to Chick. I don't know, he's very influential. That you know, he did these workshops and all of that, and I always think in the beginning, I thought, you know, he's so articulate in music, but when he speaks, it's not very articulate. It's you know, says, well, you have to think, you know, he does these things. And then one day I said to myself, wait a minute, time out. It's Chick. So try to find what it is within that language of his. And it all started making sense. You just have to get it. It's just a matter of, you know, okay, uh, you're up to that awareness level or not. And if not, you have a lot of work to do. But he does not mince words. He does not just say something just to say it. I started paying attention, and I started hearing all kinds of other things that I didn't hear before from him, you know. So there's a whole, so, you know, if you know, I remember going to Mario Feniger a long, long time ago, you know, as a beautiful pianist. And I was always looking for teachers for piano, especially because I never had a foundation. And he said, what do you want to play? When I first saw him, I said, oh, what do I want to play? I want to play Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto. You know, it's not gonna. He says, no, no. He says, if that's what you want, no, no. I said, no, no, that's. I said, I would be very, very happy if I could do. You know, there's a kind of a easier piano concerto. Mozart piano concerto was number 3 in A major. I love that piece, and I would turn it on if you wanted to hear some stuff, but it's not turned on right now. My keyboard. Otherwise, I would be at the piano. But we should have done it at the piano actually, because now and then I have some things to play.
You could move up as I'm playing something else and sharing the screen. You could just get off and on if you want.
I would like that, but I have to place the computer on the piano at a certain place because I'm not, you know.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
see. Maybe on a break I will connect
Okay.
the keyboard because it's pretty good. So I said I would like to play that, and he said, "Okay, well, let's get the music." I said, "Wait a minute, don't you have to play Clementi or something?" And he smiled and he said, "Do you know what Mozart said about Clementi?" And I said, "No." And he said, he's a decent composer, but don't play his piano music. It's just not right. It doesn't feel right." And I said, "No way." And he said, "Yeah, you can." And I said, the point is that if you want to play Mozart, why would you practice, you know, Hummel, you know, practice what you want to play? It was a concept I never had before. Well, I didn't have many concepts as a pianist because I never studied, you know, the foundations. And he opened that door for me to say, yeah, if this is what you want to do, focus on that. So the idea of playing, how did we get to that one?
Um, okay, wait a minute.
When you get up in the morning and you
Oh, well, I said
what can
something.
I learn today? What can I learn today?
Oh,
And
okay.
that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
You were talking about
You
learning.
talked
Yes.
about you know Kenny Warren and
Kenny Werner. Yeah.
Kenny Warren and basically the book and everything is that these guys have something to say. They don't just
Yeah.
throw words out. So I listen.
Yeah.
I look at the Mahler score or whatever Stravinsky score, and I don't just take it for granted. This is gold, you know.
Yeah.
So
I have to say that after over all these years, I mean, I've done a lot of different things as a singer, and I'm a composer. But and I played flute. I took a lesson this year, and I can still play. But piano, always I've thought, well, I don't have time to practice piano. But just taking this beginning class really has changed my perspective. It's great, and it's really it's not complicated stuff, and it's not really stuff I've never heard of,
Mhm.
but applying myself is it's like a new commitment, and it's made me commit to being in the moment and um, being appreciative of everything that is actually in the moment and learning. I'm listening to the to even live players differently. Like I'm actually noticing piano players how they're comping, and
Yeah,
it's just great. It's
it
fantastic.
gets your attention to things, and also more specific things. I would look at, I practice all the time, not enough, of course, but I practice. And I noticed something very interesting. You take a piece, any piece, that's a sonata, first movement, or whatever it is, or a small, and you start practicing the whole thing. Okay, well, I have to practice this and that. And then I kind of backed away from that because Marina, who's my teacher, and she's the best I ever had. Um, and she knows the physiology of, she knows exactly what muscles to use. She's amazing. She's on the ship right now, by the way.
Oh,
So anyway, so she gives me perspective on things. Go out of it and look at it, and so that I can now, with that, look at other things. So I'm looking at a piece, and what I'm realizing that these geniuses, Schumann, Schubert, Beethoven, all of these people, Liszt, Brahms, every bar can be practiced for a whole day, just
yeah,
one bar,
yeah,
because every piece of theirs is completely different, totally different technique. You look at Schumann, the three books of piano, there's hardly anything that repeats. And so you say, well, I'll do this. This is just one page. I'll do this. Oh, okay, mistake here, mistake there. Well, I have to do my octaves better. Stop.
yeah.
Look at this first bar. What's going on there? Oh my God, that bar becomes a universe. And so you do da da dee da. Ah, that's what it is. And I just went da da da, went on. No, do that, and then go to the next bar. And so I managed to play, and actually I did a little concert, which I can't believe I did that before, Brahms Rhapsody, which is a very difficult piece. I don't know how I did it.
Huh.
So, but it was by
Yeah,
congregation. So you start seeing more.
exactly.
So when you say, I look at the pianist not just as a generality, but how does he comp? How does she,
Yeah.
move from this chord to the, oh, interesting. Boom.
It's a piece of information that's useful if you
Right.
really understand it and absorb it. Yeah. Kenny Werner talks about that too. Like just taking one thing to work
It,
on, and that informs everything else, you
it
know.
doesn't seem like you could learn anything
Yeah, it
from
doesn't.
this.
Yeah.
But my God, this, if you look at it with a microscope, is this. So,
And also the looking itself. Um, I'm beginning to really get a good feel on this. It's like the one note thing. Here's the root and the five in one hand, and then just play one note. And what is in that?
yes.
And
Oh, yes.
how beautiful is that? And
And how the meaning changes when you
yeah,
change them. You can do CG,
uh-huh,
and then on top of that, any note, any other note you play changes the meaning.
yeah.
So you're looking at two notes and one note here just moving, and oh my God, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
then, and then you get to Bill Evans,
Yeah.
and you realize that you have to look not only at one bar or at one chord, you have to look at half a note before you can realize where this guy is going, because that's uh, probably the greatest,
It's the essence.
overall, the
Yeah.
greatest
Yeah.
of all.
One time I did a takedown of, um, I think it was Darn That Dream, which is a great song anyway, but it was on one of the records of Jim Hall and, was it Bill? Let's see.
I think he played
I
with
think it
Jim Hall.
was, right? Jim Hall and Bill
Yeah,
Evans.
yeah, yeah.
And I was taking down their solos, and I was totally blown away. And it was different taking the solos down than just listening.
Yes.
Listened, I did hear what they were playing, but when I wrote it down, all of a sudden it became so personal, and I was so intrigued by, I would have never thought of it like that, you know. Um, so yeah, it's a really beautiful thing to get into the moment
You know
and
what I want to do? I want to open my sequencer so that if we get to it, I don't know how much time we have, but
we
we
have
get
about an hour.
yeah. I took down a Coltrane solo and played it on the piano. No, I didn't play it. I mean, note by note. I
Yeah.
can't play it on the piano. Excuse me, guys.
Okay. You wrote it down. You played it
No, no,
slow.
no. I wrote it down and then I sequenced it into
Okay.
because I wanted to see the effect of taking something in a completely different instrument and bringing it to the piano. What would happen?
Yeah.
It's astounding how much you can learn from that because you don't expect to be able to play something that he plays on the saxophone on the piano. I actually want to load it and kind of just
Sure.
we can continue. I'll just look for it here.
Do you want me to just play something? I'll play another one of your songs while you're looking.
You know what? If you play, I would like to take that opportunity to use the bathroom.
Okay, I'll
That
play
would be good.
something.
Because the other thing I can do while we're, you can play that last one if you want, the island or anything you want.
Okay, great. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it. Here we go. Here's the island. I think this was the last one that he did. Beautiful. I wanted to hear. Ah, very beautiful.
It was just it was a mood. I just woke up, went to the piano and said, "Okay, I'll take this." And I just came with it. I can't find the Coltrane thing. I've been looking. It's been so long. I don't think it's important right now, but you know,
Yeah, it's a great idea. That I want to get into doing takedowns more. I always notice something that I want to take down, but I haven't been getting to it, you know.
there's a
So
lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from that process because it's
yeah,
you have to go through a lot to. Do you have perfect pitch?
no,
No, yeah, yeah,
relative.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. um, yeah. Um, as a matter of fact, I asked my piano teacher. My piano teacher is an excellent pianist named Jeremy Siskind. Really, very
Oh,
talented.
wait. Just 1 second.
You found it?
1 second. I found it, but I can't open it because it uses the sound card. It uses the same sound card. I cannot have two. If I use Zoom, that's the one thing I didn't think about. If I open Logic, it cuts this.
Oh,
Maybe I recorded it because Logic will not open.
right.
Let's see.
You might have had it like an MP3 of it or something.
Yeah, but I don't think that I don't think that I recorded it. I just have the sequence. And if I open Logic, it closes down Zoom,
Oh,
the audio. So I have to actually record it. Yeah, it doesn't work.
okay. Well, very interesting though. Yeah, definitely people are going to be thinking about that. Um, yeah, gosh, there's so many things I'd like to tell you. Um,
I'm here.
um,
Bluetooth
so I'm
partner.
just wondering, let's see. Um, well, something I was going to talk about right now, and I can expand it to you actually, but uh, although you've kind of said it, I'm thinking about what your kind of typical day is. What do you practice? And part of the reason I'm asking that is because like I got a whole bunch of information from the piano teacher, which I found overwhelming at first. And then I just happened to be open Kenny Werner's book where I was, and it said, "You don't have to do everything at once. You can do one thing." You know, it's like, oh,
Prioritizing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so I realize there's certain things to practice, you know, that you want to keep in. For me, like I like to practice singing every day because it just works best that way for me. And but there's so many other things to engage in. How do you decide? I mean, other than if you have a real project that you're kind of super focused on, what do you how does your day go? You know, as far as what do you do?
So I have a lot to do anyway. So, I first thing is that I eat very well, all organic and everything, not necessarily vegetarian, but I keep a very good balance, no sugars, and I want to be around for a while longer. And I every morning I go up the hill and do my half hour running and then weights and all of it. So that prepares me for the day. That last video was before all of that. I just
Oh,
got out of
really?
bed. Yeah, I looked at my, yeah, I just got out of bed. Um, so number one, I have a lot of, um, there's always a project going on, and these projects are always intense, and they're always, we need it now, we need it tomorrow, and all of that. So that's number one. Then I spend a lot of time creating new stuff. So I think I created a few years ago, which I took to Disney. It was called the Forbidden Band, where I took 10 musicians from warring countries and put a band together and wrote all the music. And we went to Disney Studios and did it show there. It was great. And then I realized that I would have to. I tried for a while, but I was looking for funding, and it's a major project, and there's so many things pulling and pushing. And one of the things about doing a lot of different things is that it's very difficult to set your priorities, and sometimes you put your attention on something that should not take all your attention, but it's there. So I do that. I write songs. I work with artists. I wrote a few scripts, which a couple of them are I'm shopping right now. That takes a lot of time. I also we won't get into it, but there's a spiritual path that I'm on, which takes at least 2-3 hours of my day just listening and these things. So my days happen to be full, and then whatever I can squeeze in, which I call studying the technology that I use so I'm up to date all the time, studying, practicing, studying score, studying new plugins or new whatever comes out. So that also happens, and sometimes these things are one on top of the other, and they're not very organized because it's just too much. But there's always something to do. There's always something to produce.
Right.
I'm very thankful for that. I mean, you basically created yourself to some degree. You can't be sitting around waiting for someone to call you or so between originating projects, which I have quite a few. I have the trio that I did a couple of years ago, and many things like that. And between the assigned things, like right now I'm working on 2 films simultaneously. So that's a lot. And all this other stuff, the days get pretty packed till midnight.
Do you ever perform live?
I did for a while here and there until COVID came.
Oh.
And that's when I started getting more deeply into these little vignettes, these little clips.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting deeper into the meaning of playing, not just playing. And that's when I made a decision again that until I'm really, really ready, I'm not going to go out there and perform, because I will be just playing notes.
Yeah.
Kind of we talked about possibly, doing some arranging for some tunes. And whereas before I would say, great, let's play a few tunes that we both know and end them with 2-5-3-6, 2-5-3-6 and out. And instead of that, really focusing on what it means. And that's what I do also a lot.
Sounds like a pretty full day.
It is a full day, yeah. Really love to watch things,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned several people who were significant in your life. And was there, well, yeah, I have a feeling sometimes I'll ask people who were their musical mentors, but you've already mentioned like a kind of a broad spectrum of who they were. Anybody we didn't mention, like a real personal.
Gustav Mahler is a major influence on me and many others. But the emotional thrust of everything that he puts his hand on, that's something that I share very strongly.
Yeah.
Bill Evans, I mentioned, but these are very common. These are names that almost anybody you ask.
I was going to ask you, did you know of Moacir Santos?
No.
I didn't know how deeply you were into Brazilian music. You should check out Monsieur Santos. Gorgeous composer and arranger. Gorgeous human being. He lived in LA for a long time, and he was a sax player.
Text his name to me, and I will check him out.
I will.
There's
Yeah.
there's a few. There's Leila Pinheiro, who I
Mhm.
met, more on the commercial side, Elise Regina and
Yeah.
Ivan Lin's major influence. Jobim is Jobim. That's like saying, okay, Johann Sebastian Bach. We don't have to talk about him because what's there to say? Jobim is in his own place. But there were quite a few, Musha, and yeah, so there's quite a few.
Javan. Amazing.
Jovan.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I've gotten into Brazilian music a lot more in the last 10 years, I guess. It's really beautiful. I sing a little bit in Portuguese, but right now I'm trying to absorb a Jobim song called Louisa, which is a really beautiful
Hey,
song.
Louisa. Oh my God. That is yeah, that one. And there's a record that he did, which is my favorite record. It's called the Urubu, the crow.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm gonna write that down.
that is with Klaus Hogerman arrangements. That is I feel the deepest statement that Jobim made is that album. And there's a song there. Louisa is there.
Uh-huh.
Let me see. Just want to check because there's one song in particular. Um, where are all the songs? Huh. Does it sound familiar?
I don't think so.
It is on YouTube, so that's where we'll find the whole thing, full album. Okay, there you go.
I wondered if Maynard, we could find Maynard playing your arrangement of
No, that
Conquista.
was a live concert.
Yeah, but I mean on YouTube, Conquistador, that one.
Conquistador is the name of the thing. Lygia,
Oh yeah,
Lygia.
that's
Oh
beautiful
my
too.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
how can how can I share this with you? Because this did a lot of influence on me
If
actually.
you say share screen and share the music, like also like click on share screen and share sound, and then share.
Where's the share button?
It should be down at the bottom of the screen.
Share screen
Mm-hmm.
and share what?
Share sound down at the bottom of the screen.
Actually, okay, well, let me share this. See if
Oh yeah,
you see it.
I know this record. Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, then how do I get back?
Now you hit stop sharing up at the top.
Okay, good.
That record, when I first came to LA, I was working as a waitress at Dante's, and for some reason, that record was really popular at that time. And of course, it was Dante's, so all the jazz musicians,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that was, yeah, the Klaus Ogerman stuff. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, that song Lygia created a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
Oh, Brazil is its own.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I would like to talk about? And I see that there's something that I don't know if you want to listen to this or not. You tell me. But you did work with Harriet Schock, right?
Yes, many years.
Yeah. So Harriet Schock, her big claim to fame was writing
No Way to Treat a Lady.
No Way to Treat a Lady.
Yeah.
That was pretty big, you know. So, yeah, but you guys did other stuff together. um, but what is this? Is this something?
No, I'm not. This is one of those things that I just
Okay.
went on and played. I
Is
think
this something?
this is no, this is not Harriet. This is from Phantom of the Opera. This was a kind of an aria that I wrote that thousands of people have asked for over the years. But this is an extension. This was a Russian choir that decided to do it, and they extended the aria, and made it bigger. But it's kind of one of my big pieces.
Should we listen to a little some part of it?
Uh,
Well, it's actually only 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes long.
yeah, you can listen to that. Yeah, you can listen to that. It's not the original. This is not from the movie. That was written for the movie. The
But this
movie,
is yours, though, right?
yeah. All of it is mine.
Okay, let's hear.
I see but my shadow. My heart is overflowing. There's so much you could find to know. Your contentment
Oh my God. Magnificent. Woo!
Thanks. It's an
Wow.
MP3. It's a little bit, the sound is not fantastic, but
Oh my God, but that is gorgeous.
uh, but that's one of my pride movie works.
Wow. Now, you mentioned your trio.
Uh-huh.
So tell us about the trio. Is that,
Well, when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, I devoted all the time to her. It was between 95 and 2001, and she passed on Mother's Day 2001, and I decided the first year I was so crushed, I was not able to work or do anything, and so I started touring the entire nation, every cancer center in the United States, and played the same stuff that I used to play for my mother, and and then I kind of recalled a lot of these improvisations and put them on 2 CDs.
huh,
and kind of let it be, because after I did this tour, I went back to my life, my work, and everything, and then a few years ago, like 4 years ago, a fellow by the name of Ben Powell, who is the number one violin co in Hollywood. You know, he plays for Hans Zimmer and everybody, and you know, we became friends, and he came over, and I played him this stuff, and he said, "My goodness, can you transcribe it to violin and maybe bass, and let's perform this thing?" I said, "Really?" You know, and, yeah. So I transcribed it to him and Mike Valerio, who's,
Yeah, he's
oh,
great.
you know him.
Yes, he's a wonderful player.
And the three of us became the Segal Trio, and we did a few performances at the Blue Whale
Oh,
and a couple there and a couple of other places. And everybody got busy, and Ben wound up moving to Texas, and you know, Mike is very busy.
yeah,
And I couldn't. It's one of those things where I say, you know, where do I put my attention? I really wanted to perform, but there was no, you know, I needed a manager, I needed public relations, you know what it takes to
I
put together a
do.
performance. And
Yeah,
it's full time.
yeah, absolutely.
And I was getting movies and this and that, and I couldn't do it. And, you know, it's a matter of really choose your career. You know, it's like I could have put all my attention on the trio and made it happen, but I would
Yeah,
have to give up on everything. And plus, you talk about making a living being an artist, and, you know, my main source of income has been and still is writing film scores. So I just did not have the time anymore, and these guys would not do it if we had to start getting paid.
yeah.
So the trio exists, the concept exists, the CD came out. Maybe I'll get back to it someday. Who knows? Mhm.
Is the CD something I might be able to play?
Sure, it's all mine.
Uh, would I find it on YouTube or Spotify or anything? Or
You would find it. Oh, definitely on Spotify.
okay, let me go look at
Misha
Spotify.
Segal Trio, Ocean to Ocean, it's called.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that on I saw that Ocean to Ocean.
If you play the first piece, that's called Ocean to Ocean, and that is a beautiful piece. It was a kind of one expression of my love for America, for this country, which I shared with my mother, and Ocean to Ocean, meaning, Atlantic to Pacific and everything in between. And Harriet actually wrote lyrics to it. I never recorded it professionally, but it started as a piano piece, and the trio plays it. That's the first piece on the record, if you want to play it.
Yeah, I'm going to share the screen because the sound is better.
Sure.
Beautiful. Holy moly.
Thank you.
Wow, that that has this longing, in it that I love.
Mm. And it has this Americana.
Yeah, yeah.
The people, when I spoke to a few marketing people and say, well, what genre? I have really no idea. What genre is this? I have no idea. It's not really jazz. It's not folk. It's not new age. It's not, what is it? I don't know.
You know, uh, I co-produced a film composer, her second record actually, Catherine Bostic. I don't know if you know her
Oh,
name.
yeah. Yeah, I know the name.
Her music, yeah, we were like, but the other co-producer actually came up with cinematic Americana, which is kind of cool, you
Very,
know?
very cool. Because I did one concert with Jamie Font a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was when I was still doing the female concerts. It was called Female. And we decided to do a concert here for friends in LA. And we discussed this. Uh, Jamie said, "Why don't you call it lunar music?" I said, that sounds
Sounds
good,
like
but what does it
something you'd
mean?
come up with.
Cinematic Americana is spot on.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, Dan, he's here. He comes up with great titles. He came up with a great title for my last CD, Social Anthems. Like,
I,
yeah,
I'd like to pick his head. Definitely.
yeah.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
and her songs are, yeah, I hope you hear them. I mean, we haven't actually put it out yet. We're still kind of looking to see what the best um, avenue to put it out, like
I
a
mean,
label or whatever. But her music is really, it's definitely Americana, but the production of it has other elements in it. And
well, it's that's what's happening now for real. People are not looking at genres anymore. They're mixing stuff.
yeah, they sure
This
are.
particular thing, if you wanted to listen to something, just send me a link. I will listen to it.
Okay.
But I really, really like that. I would have never come up with the title. It's a very good title. This music, if there was a bona fide genre like that, this would be it. Because
That
it
was
does
really
it has a little bit of filmic kind of sensibility. It goes that way.
yeah,
Also America. So
yeah. Yeah, I also do some writing like that too, just because of who I am, my history, whatever comes up, comes up. But I have found that I've come up with kind of folky type of things, and it's just what it is. And then you give it to some jazz players and it becomes, something really quite beautiful, and then you move on, you come up with something really jazzy or whatever. But
the Cologne concerts, the Cologne concerts,
yeah,
he already then
yeah, that's
did
true.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
He jazzed it up a little bit more, but that was definitely not totally jazz. It had this. By the way, you asked me a question before about Harriet, and we kind of she fluffed over
Yeah.
it because I don't like how I played there, but she is a major collaborator of mine for many decades, and we did so many movies together. And you know, if you wanted to play anything that Harriet and I did, by all means, because we did some beautiful stuff. We did this short-lived series together. We did Pippi Longstocking, Phantom of the Opera. My goodness, we wrote. I can't even remember everything all at once. There's so many projects we did together. The Secret Garden, the New Adventures of Santa Claus. I mean, we did so many projects together, so
Oh,
many.
I
And
don't
our
know.
big focus was always Ferris wheel, which we always play at her shows and everything. I'm a
Yeah.
little overrun on this song, but it's our biggest song.
That's cool. um, yeah. Again, it's really a question of what isn't proprietorial, But you know,
Oh, as far as the songs go,
Yeah, because like I said, they just take me down. I haven't done. I've been very good for for months and months, but for a while, they kept taking me down. They actually took me off, like actually shut down my show from Facebook for a while, for like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Very suppressive because there's no differentiation between an artist sharing and talking about music and between somebody exploiting it commercially, which you're not. So it's really
It is suppressive. It's really weird.
suppressive. It just that makes no sense. There's no good intention in that.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
They're not
And
gonna,
also, they're just lazy because I just, if they really were, had the complete picture in mind, they would make a department that would handle that
exactly
and
that thing. Yeah.
charge somebody like me a fee for licensing and then get the money to the, whomever. They would do that, but they don't.
Well,
So it's really weird.
that's what these, very ridiculous.
Yeah.
You are two artists trying to share a piece and you can't do it.
Yeah. What is one of your or you don't have to do just one, but something that comes to mind, like one of your favorite musical things to
Your
have
own
worked
or
on?
somebody else's.
Your own,
Um,
or maybe it's a
you're right,
project.
it's very difficult. You see, Phantom of the Opera, that aria, but the original, because this one is, they created the middle part and all that, is very high up there. It's very difficult to say because it's like, you know, how many kinds of music do you listen to yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So which one is your favorite? So you get up in the morning and say, I have to listen to okay,
Whatever I feel like right now. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
then you say, I want to hear it, Chopin piano concerto. I haven't heard it in a long time. And it totally stirs you. And at that moment, that is so for I think that for professionals, not because we are anything special in that regard, but because we deal with it all the time, our moods dictate what we, there are times when I listen to some of my things that really stir me because I'm the effect of them just like anybody else. Once we let this thing out, it's no longer totally ours, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
so there are times, when I listen to the trio and I say, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then, I listen to some amazing score that I think is amazing. And so I can't really say that. I really can't say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we won't limit you.
Yeah, it's really something I can't answer.
Do you teach, Misha?
I don't teach as a
As a rule.
as a rule, but I've taught many over the years, and I noticed that when I teach, and I only teach what I know and explain,
Yes.
I save people a lot of time because when I can teach something complete in half an hour, and the person who asked the question or wanted to know leaves my vicinity knowing it forever. It's one thing I really take pride in, and I will not just waste time. So you could take something and open it up and take it, spread it over a period of 6 months or a whole semester in university, whatever it is, or you
Yeah.
can say, let's get to the bottom of what is troubling you, what you are struggling
Yeah.
with, and I will get to the bottom of it and not let them go until they had no more misunderstandings.
Kind of like what Mario said to you. You
Mhm.
know, why do you want to study this person when you want to play this?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I did that. What I didn't tell you at the time is that I did the entire first movement, and I
Oh,
spoke to Paul Polinick at some point, and we were going to perform it. I was going to do it on the piano, but life comes in and does other things. But the thing is that you have to really practice it until the moment you go on stage. You can't
yeah.
just leave it in the back of your mind. But he was right. I wanted to study that, and that's what he worked with me on. But that's the thing. So I don't really teach, a seminar or this or that. Although I have
Yeah.
created a program for a film music, kind of a five-part seminar where you can really understand the basics.
Oh,
But no time. But somebody asks me sometimes, and I know the subject, I really know it, then I will dissect it for them
yeah,
to the gradients,
yeah. This is a little off our subjects, but I have noticed in this video
Yeah.
window and also your solo piano playing window that your house is very has a lot of space in it, like not just the rooms, but like even on your bookshelf back there, there's like a whole bookshelf that's has maybe 4 pieces or 5 pieces on it only, and that's very impressive. And I feel like that's probably part of,
Let me see if I can take this
or
off.
I don't know.
I want to show you my environment. So you see, there's always space. You see, this is what's outside my studio.
Uh-huh.
You see, you're absolutely right. Space is the final frontier. I hope I didn't mess it up.
You know, I forget who said this. I read this the other day, but
It's from Star Trek.
space, yeah, but space is the 13th note.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that great?
Stravinsky said that the spaces are sometimes, not sometimes, are as important as notes and sometimes even more than the notes. Yeah, space, space.
I know.
I make,
That's why I like abstract stuff because of the use of space, you know?
yeah, it's very, very good observation. That's very, very good. When things start cluttering up a little bit, I immediately disperse the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, space is, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, we're coming to the, to the
Oh my
2 hour
goodness,
mark.
we are.
I know it's interesting, isn't it?
Public is
It's,
getting hungry. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
when
it's
you,
really nice to speak with you again. Gosh, I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a long time.
when you when you talk to a fellow musician, creator, or whatever, it's time has no meaning. We could sit here another 12 hours and one would say you haven't scratched the surface yet, and it would be because there is no surface and there's nothing to scratch. It's just an ongoing wave.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Well,
Cathy. That was really lovely. I don't interview very much, you should know. I really turned on a lot of interview. I'm just not interested in saying the same thing over and over and over again, or I can't tell you how many interviews in media and papers, and then it comes out and
incorrect.
not only incorrect, but I had one interview where the Israeli newspaper here, and we talked a lot, for like 2 hours about everything, about what I do and everything. And she said at some point, she said, "Do you work with the Israelis in the industry?" And I said, not really, not very much. I'm working in Hollywood, and also, our people. It's not like the Italians that are, get together and push power to one another. We are more, This thing comes out after everything that I talked and everything that I said. The headline was, Misha says that the Israelis are not friendly to one another, or something, some terrible things like that. And I freaked out. I said, this is what I just said it off the cuff. We don't, So all the stuff like we talked here today, my career and everything, and that was the headline. So but it's very nice to talk to you, and it's very, very light, and we can definitely do this anytime you want.
Great. Yeah, and I really would love to get together and make some music. I think it would be really just nice. And I know you're very busy, but maybe there's an hour or something
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. Where are you? Are you you're in the valley someplace?
I am in Granada Hills.
Granada Hills. Where is that?
It's next to Northridge.
I'm in Woodland Hills. So yes,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
we can do that, Cathy, and we just carve some time out and do it.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, thanks, Misha. Thank you so much. And you can actually hit leave and then because I'm going to blab a little about, who's coming on the show and that kind of
Okay.
stuff. So you don't have to sit here for that.
Let
But
me say
thank you.
goodbye. And Cathy, thank you. Very well done. And if
Thanks.
you need to edit some things out or whatever, just don't worry about it.
Actually, I don't. This is it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Unless like you want an edited version, but this is it. I mean, it's very casual, it's very improvisational, and this just intrigues me to talk to people like this.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks, Misha.
Bye.
Bye. That's Misha Segal, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, that was a cool conversation. It's been so long since I spoke with him and saw him, but he kind of looks the same. um, and thanks, Marcy. I'm glad you were inspired. I think I feel good too. So good. Um, yeah, right, Roland. It does, right? It's kind of very minimalistic. You're right. Anyway, Thursday through Sunday, I have my archives showing. So Thursday is a really good jazz singer from the East Coast, from Pittsburgh, Tanya Grubbs. And Friday is, she's kind of world renowned, especially on social media, like seriously world renowned, Amy Nolte. She's a pianist, a singer, a teacher. She's extremely generous. If you want to learn something, just go to her website and she's like just giving away tons of information. It's really great. She's a lovely person. And then Saturday, for those jazzers out there, you definitely know these people. A great singer who especially is wonderful in free singing, and has been since like Loft days in New York. She's also a painter, Judy Silvano, and she's married to one of the best jazz sax players in the world, Joe Lovano. So they're on Saturday. And Sunday, they're not a married couple, but they are a working couple, and singer, guitarist, composer named Cindy Scott, and her partner in crime, Brian Seeger, who's a great guitar player and an educator. So that's the rest of this week. Also, I should mention Sunday that I will be online singing a set with my pianist Gary Fukushima, one of my favorites, on the singer Jocelyn Medina on her show. She has been doing a jam session for, I think it's about 8 years, and it was live until the pandemic, and then she just carried it on online. So you can actually see her show, Jocelyn Medina. You can see it PR'd on my page as well, but I will put it here, her name, just so you know. Jocelyn Medina. And so let's see. What happens is Pacific time, 3 to 4, Gary and I perform. And then from 4 to 5:30, there's a jam session. So you can actually, jam. Not with us, but you can jam, it's a whole online jam session. So you guys can do that if you would like. Next week, just as a heads up, the Monday, guitarist David Becker is going to be on, and he's going to speak about himself, and he's also going to talk about Joe DiOrio. So Joe DiOrio was an incredibly influential guitarist teacher who I recorded with a record called Day by Day, and he touched many, many lives, and he passed away 2 weeks ago. And so David Becker was a very good friend of his as well. So we're going to be talking about David, and we're also going to be talking about his memories of Joe DiOrio. And then Tuesday, gosh, this really, real deep artist named Vinx. And I've known Vinx for years. Gosh, it's like probably over 20 years. And he's a really interesting artist, singer, composer, And so he'll be on Tuesday. Wednesday, I have to shuffle around, so I'm looking for my Wednesday guest. But I am booked all through April. Whoa. And just as an exciting thing before I leave, my book is coming out. I'm not sure if it's actually literally on sale on Amazon. I mean, it's there, but I'm not sure if it's actually selling yet. But you can also get it from the publisher, which is booklocker.com. I have it on my website. So this is a little philosophy book. You can stick it. It's really small. You can stick it in your pocket, and it's philosophy on how the same lesson in life can apply to different areas in your life. It took me only 15 years to write 52 pages, but I finished. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye. Have a great